So we got a short little episode because we got short little cigars. Let's see if we can time it so that we do what we got to talk about.
In the amount of time we
In the amount of
smoke.
time we had this. So we're smoking the delicious Davidoff Late Hour and the Petite Panatellas that come in like a nice little tin of 5. I mean, you're getting all the flavor and experience of a regular Late Hour, and especially the wintertime.
You have to take a
it's getting a
picture.
little cold, you know. Big changes at Davidoff announced today.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Eddie?
I did not. I have
Eddie's
not.
a nice guy.
Was he? How long was he at Davidoff for?
5 years.
Okay.
He was with us before that. He was with Altadis, maybe CDM or Altadis, something like right before that, and then he went over to Davidoff along with Dane, my buddy Dane. But yeah, he just resigned. He was like their senior brand manager for the past 5 years.
Wow.
A lot of shakeups at Davidoff this year.
I wonder what's going on.
Well, I was talking to some of the guys on the team yesterday, and we have this sometimes too with our parent companies. When you have a European like kind of owner, which Davidoff does, and so do we. Like our big bosses are in Europe, and I got to be very careful of how I'm framing this.
Yeah.
But what they look to in terms of like their market is really Europe and Asia, 'cause that's kind of where they're located. And so, and they also see like, the massive price increase that happened with Cubans 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And they're still selling a lot, but almost all of that's going to China. Like a vast majority of it's going to China. So there's a large market in China for expensive cigars because of the taxes and everything, they're used to paying more. But they try to translate that here sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily work. Not everyone here wants to buy a $1,000 ashtray or an $800 box of cigars. And I think that there was this time during COVID and right after COVID where a lot of companies were introducing much higher end things, and I think there was a time for that. But now with the economy and things being a little more tight, I think people, at least in the U.S., are looking for more reasonable, and you can find reasonable. I mean, like that HVC, that mixed filler, that's $3 a cigar retail, is fantastic. Is better than a lot of cigars that are long filler and more expensive.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are looking more towards. It doesn't necessarily need to be budget, but if they normally buy a $15 cigar, they're buying more like a $10 cigar now. Davidoff hasn't really shifted that way. They're still, I think I just saw, like the new year of the whatever that's coming out is going to be like $60 a cigar. Which is, listen, as a company, if there's a market for that and you're making it and they're buying it, and I know that's probably more targeted towards China anyway. It's the year of I think it's the snake this year. Then, God bless, make your money. But when it's not working in the U.S., I mean, we have so many options for premium cigars out of the, Honduras, Nicaragua, the DR, that are significantly cheaper and still of really high quality. Especially when you compare them to Cubans, that, it's not necessarily going to translate. And it's almost like you kind of need two different directions. I don't know many international companies that like, all right, this is how we handle everything and we handle it the same in every country. It's like, all right, well, you're not going to, by handling it differently in different countries, you can make more money. Because if you handle Americans the way Americans like to be handled and Russians the way Russians like to be handled, like you're going to increase your profits in both of those. But just saying like this is the standard internationally for how we advertise or sell or price our products, well, you're going to get what you're going to get.
Would it hurt Davidoff's reputation if they did end up, I guess, lowering prices? I know it's a silly question, but I feel like some of these companies that have like their standard pricing, a Davidoff, or I'm not sure what other companies are really.
Padron.
Yeah, I was going to say like
Valente,
Padron. Yeah. If they were to drop in price, I'm sure I'm sure there's one group out there that would be thrilled because they would be able to really maybe afford it. But do you think there would be like that other group, we could say elite, or the rich, the people who like, the finer things? Do you think it would almost damage their reputation?
Yes. I don't think you can. I don't think you can do a price decrease. Nor would I. If I was in that job, I would not be like, oh well, let's lower our prices. But
so then, what are their expectations of making goals?
What you can do, because this is what Davidoff used to be, is when you release like a new core line, like you did with Millennium or the old Puro de Oro, or you release a $16 Davidoff, which is where a lot of their sales came from. And then, maybe once or twice a year, you release some very limited thing that's this much, that much. But, the new Maduro came out this year, and it was very good, but it was very, very expensive. Yeah. It was, I want to say it was like $40 maybe or something like that. The market's not really there for that all the time. Now, listen, I will say every single Davidoff I've ever smoked, the quality is there. Like, it is always worth the money. It just in this time right now, I would love to see a Davidoff come out that's like $18.
But would that damage or
no? Because they've done. It's one thing you can't reduce prices on your current lines because that makes it seem like you're in trouble or this and that.
True.
Although some companies that don't have like that level, I don't want to say that level of prestige, but that aren't seen like that. Like Rocky Patel did a price decrease on a few lines this year, which was a good thing. Because it was like, hey, our costs came down. We're going to pass that on to the consumer. That's fine. Rolex doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Rolex doesn't come out and be like, oh, we're going to lower the prices of all the Daytonas this year. But there are Rolexes out there that are $6,000, $7,000. And then there's Rolexes out there that are 30, 40, 50, 60, up to the $100,000. You know what I mean? You need to diversify. Even if you're high end, you need to have a lower version of the high end. There's Lamborghinis you can go buy for $120,000 that are just stock, off the lot, basic, whatever. But yeah, if you want to get the crazy one, the limited edition with the whatever, that's going to cost you $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. But you need like a stock option.
And so you're saying if they were to come out with something like $18, I guess it wouldn't raise a red flag, or it wouldn't.
No, but they can't do a lot of the things that other manufacturers are willing, overruns or seconds, things that AJ does, or these kind of guys. I think even my father had a bundle of like overruns for a minute. You can't put Davidoff's name on any of that. No, I wouldn't. I 100% wouldn't. Even when they do something that's in like a 10-pack, like a craft paper pack, it's like done in such a beautiful, like their branding is really
or the 50th for us.
50th for
that
us.
Was beautiful.
Like their branding is done so well. I'm just interested to see how they're going to navigate this because regardless of we're filming this on Tuesday. I know it comes out on Friday, so we don't know who won the election. But regardless of what happens in the election, it's not like Wednesday morning everyone's going to be rich again.
Yeah.
Whatever economic changes are going to happen, whether they're good or bad, it's going to take a year.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 months to a year.
Yeah, before we see any kind of price differences in regular consumer goods. Yeah. So I don't know, but I feel a lot, and Davidoff's not alone in this. I feel like a lot of companies have just decided to go this super high end route, and
we probably talked about it ad nauseum, but I think the success from like everyone was doing well across the board when COVID hit. When we were in like the thick of it, we were doing really well, and I'm sure other companies were making a lot of profit because of just the way the world was. So I'm assuming, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm assuming if I were a company, like, okay, now we've reeled in a few new consumers, we have some regulars, our numbers are looking good. Well, if they're price gouging, let's say fast food and gas or clothes, well, let's take a step up and like instead of making this cigar $13, let's make it $16. That's what I'm assuming that some of they are, or that they are or the flip side of it is that they've lost a lot of money due to, all right, we're selling through shit during COVID. We've talked about this too. Let's just make a bunch of sticks and let's hope that we're going to make this train's going to keep rolling. It doesn't roll, so now they have to kind of, make their money back in a way from, I guess, their projections or their.
I'm going to tell you
thinking.
what. Up until maybe this year, everyone in this industry was doing real well.
Yeah,
because their numbers went up so much. And listen, what I don't understand about a lot of people in a lot of industries is that they maybe I'm a pessimist or whatever. They see a boom and then they act like the boom is going to last forever, and it never does. Yeah. I mean, that was what happened at the end of the actual boom during the 90s is people kept pretending like this is going to happen forever. And I'm like, no. And then a lot of companies, even outside the cigar industry, and this was shitty that a lot of companies did this, is once the supply drain and logistics got taken care of, everything was kind of back to normal, and their costs went back down. They didn't decrease their prices. Target, fast food places, now they're hustling because people have stopped shopping with them. Now they're putting out all these deals and price decrease. Yeah, because you guys were taking advantage of us, and you were like, well, they're already paying $16 for a Big Mac, so even though our costs went down 10%, let's just leave it at, now we're just going to make more money. And I think it's really shitty. I have a very different idea for how like a big business should be run. Than I'm much more of a
logical?
Turn of the century,
okay.
Try to make it as efficiently and cheaply as possible so consumers want to buy it.
Yeah.
Not this oh, well, we'll make it so it breaks in 3 years and they got to buy a new one, or let's charge them for the box now.
That's
I saw a thing that what's his name, the Apple CEO,
Tim Cook.
The stock of Apple has quadrupled under his reign. I'm like, yeah, what did Tim Cook create?
Nothing.
Under his reign.
What did he? Well, I don't know.
What's one new item that has been created? Maybe the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
In a 10-year period, you had MacBook Pro, iPod, iPhone, iPad from Steve Jobs. This guy he's a business CEO, and I fucking hate those. I hate them. I want someone who wants to create, innovate, make something that people want to come and purchase, and make it as affordable as you can so you can still make money.
There's so many jokes about how, my dad needs the new iPhone every time it comes out. And I'm like, you're essentially paying for, I guess, just different chargers and cords. Because what is the phone really, what's different about when you get past, I guess, the XR, 11, 12, what's different? What's different?
It's better camera.
It's better camera. It's bigger.
Camera.
It's just... I don't know.
They haven't done anything new with it. They have a newer design.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. And things should be cheaper over time. Dave Smith, who's a comedian and a libertarian commentator, made a great point about inflation, all this. Inflation is not a law of nature. He's financially, things should get cheaper over time as you get better manufacturing processes. It should be cheaper to make. And you see that with some items. TVs, for example, are a great example.
Yeah.
Now, every person, from someone who lives in a one-bedroom studio to a mansion, everyone has a flat screen in their house because they went from being $10,000. Now they still have very high-end ones, but you can go get a Vizio 40-inch flat screen TV for $200.
Yeah.
Everyone can have one.
Yeah.
That's how many things should operate. Why is for example, something like rice more expensive now than it was 100 years ago? We have more rice now. We have more people who are making rice now. It should be cheaper than it was. I don't know. Maybe I don't fully understand global economics. Maybe I don't want to. But in my mind, if you create something good and you keep it at a reasonable price where you're still hitting your business numbers and people can afford it, they'll come back and the amount of money they made off of charging people for the charger now.
Yeah,
all that didn't we needed it to give to fund our new R&D development because we were going to make an airplane. All that did is we just have more money now. We just did that so we can just get more money.
And the chargers break.
Yeah, they're
the top of the
shit.
charger like cracks all the time. I don't know. I it would be nice to kind of get back to some sort of world where, and maybe I'm speaking just solely from my perspective. If I'm shopping for basic necessities, eggs, pasta, milk, bread, things of that nature, I have a really hard time like paying, I don't know. You ever heard of Dave's Killer Bread?
No, I don't
It's
think
like
so.
like 0 grams of sugar. Like it's supposed to be low in sugar intake and really healthy. That's like almost $6. I have a hard time really like justifying, but this is just how I've been. I have a hard time justifying like spending that much money on things I'm going to use weekly. Now I don't want to like pay for the cheap shit, but I just wish like your weekly necessity, like it didn't cost an arm and a leg to get it.
Right.
But even like for me, I don't splurge on like clothes and shoes. And every time I do, I feel like guilty for doing it. But like things are just things are.
Well, it's all like
It's just crazy.
So many things have happened. So like, for example, these shoes, these are low top Jordans. I can't remember the color that they're called. But I got these. I think I got these for like under $100. I think I got these for like $80. Now,
It's a good price.
this is something that like these Jordans when they came out in like the 80s were probably still they weren't cheap then. It's not like they were $10 in the 80s and 90s. They were probably a very similar price. So something like high-end shoes, the regular MSRP has in fact stayed stable. But what happens is people like our buddy downstairs, I'm not going to say his name, buy them all up and then resell them for a profit.
Yeah, and that's just I don't know where.
Well, there's a lot of you see people on Instagram. Oh, all I do is I go and I buy brawny paper towels at Costco and then I resell them on Amazon for like $2 more, and I do this and I make millions. I'm like, oh, so you're just like cheating out people of money. Like you're like that's what you're doing. You didn't create a new you made yourself a middleman where you don't really need a middleman. You've invented a middleman space and you're tricking people into being like, oh, get my high-end paper towels. And it's just brawny that you bought cheap. Like it's people just like, no one wants to have a new idea anymore. And say what you want about Elon Musk. I think he says a lot of crazy shit. And for a while, I was always curious as to like how he had so much money because like Tesla didn't make a lot of money. But he's the only like recent guy that's like trying to make something new. Like make something. Build a thing.
Yeah.
Do a thing. Stop like, oh, well, how can I make $1 million a year by like just what's in this room? Oh, let me resell this and then I'll do this on social media and then I'll send it to an influencer and then I'll make, or I'll sponsor contented videos on you. No one's making, like, invent something. I'm not saying like, listen, I'm not that guy, but the people who are smart enough to be those people, to be like the inventors and the future creators, they're all just like everything's a scheme now. Oh, I'm gonna make an energy drink.
I think a lot of people, and I don't know where this stems from, because I feel like we live in an area where everyone is hustling.
Yeah,
I think New York City is the city. Everyone's mentality is like, how can I make money to survive? How can I hustle? You had these guys, you have these guys hustling on the corner street for, selling shirts, and then they end up like, making, becoming an actual brand and all that, right? There's a little different. Like Jonathan Drew hustling on the street, I think is a little bit different than doing it now.
Yeah.
Because look what he built, right? What I'm trying to say is I think everyone most people try to make a quick buck. We'll talk about our buddy downstairs. And there's another guy, there's this teenager, like he's a grown man now, but like 10 years ago, he was famous for selling sneakers.
Yeah, he was like
Drake, DJ Khaled.
Yeah, that punk.
That 16-year-old. So he's buying them and then reselling them probably double the price because he knows his clients will pay for that. There is something wrong with that because I think everyone is just trying to make a quick buck because in everyone's mind, like money is everything. And listen, money helps money solves problems. I will say
No,
that.
money definitely, like,
Money
people say that
helps
money doesn't
and-
buy happiness.
But it solves.
It does.
Yes.
It does
yes.
for like a lot of issues. Now,
But
I'm
to
not,
your point,
you know,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you were making a
I'm
point.
just going to say, to your point, I love that you're saying people need to go out and invent. People need to go out and create. You know, like from our perspective, we're going out and we're creating, you know, I'm not inventing anything, but I'm trying to create art in my personal life. Like we're trying to create things. And I think a lot of people now, from my perspective, let's just make a film with AI. To me, I'm sorry, that's lazy because it looks bad. I was at a festival 2 weeks ago. A film was 80% AI, and it didn't look good. Like it really didn't
Did people
look
like
good.
clap for it?
People were laughing because of the subject matter, because it was like your typical monsters in therapy, but it just didn't like I felt kind of like disgusted after it because I was like, this is
You're not a director. You're an engineer. You engineered this. You didn't like direct.
But I do know that there's certain things like AI uses and AI does that could be beneficial for like the way we live, right? Maybe not art, but like the way we live, and like for like for things I'm not really well versed in, like technology that could help out with cancer, that could help out with anything like that. But I do think people don't have like the hunger or the drive to invent. It's people not wanting to be patient and people wanting things yesterday. That's basically my point.
No, exactly. You're exactly right. And that's also a fear I have with AI is like, oh, well, AI, they can do cancer research and they can find the cure. I'm like, all right. Once it does that, every single cancer researcher in this country is out of a job. Now what?
Yep.
And I don't, now that might be a bad example because like, obviously you want the quickest cure for cancer, but I'm just saying, with
doctors,
with AI, it can run your entire warehouse. All right.
So what?
Well, you just fired 200 people.
Exactly.
And I know that you can't, like technology can't stand still, but we already, I think as a society, we have plenty of like instant gratification. I don't think we need that much more of it.
I agree.
How about people work on like a better energy source? Go do that. I don't give a shit like, oh, AI can now design tattoos in 10 seconds. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I do not care. It should be used for medical research and use AI to figure out how do we fix our energy problem? What's the best way to do it? What's the way we can make solar panels more efficient? Put that into AI and stop making like fake pornos.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what Jennifer Aniston would look like if she was making out with, whoever. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Tell that to Sam, whatever his name, Sam Altman or whatever. Use it for something. Use it for something that like that is important to society, but does not take away like a massive amount of employment.
Everyone's up in arms about global warming, which they should be because October was extremely warm up here when it never. Use it for something like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hate to say use it for good, but use it like, or maybe it shouldn't be popular in the mainstream for being used for like creating like these a few years ago these images of Taylor Swift and like the derogatory images, like why was it used?
I think that you should need like certifications in order to use certain AI. Like it's one thing if you want to use ChatGPT to like make you a quote for like whatever. Or, but like I think that there's certain levels of AI that like you need authorization in order to use it. I wonder how many people like in the finance world are using some AI algorithms bullshit to like do better trades. Like how can we extract more money from the people of the world for our own coffers? Like it's always that. I also think, and listen, I have one of my closest friends is a financial advisor. I think Wall Street and all like the idea that you can make money by trading money, I'm like, I can't imagine a more useless, like to society, a more useless thing. Well, never mind. The shoe trader guy is also pretty. When the apocalypse comes, when the revolution happens, those are the guys that are going first.
Oh yeah.
Like what's DJ Khaled going to do when everything crashes and he's left with $5 million worth of sneakers that's now worth $10.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good point. That's why I'm not materialistic at all with certain things like that.
I wear them. I buy these and I wear them all the time.
I used to buy basketball sneakers, but I think I was too young to, I guess, appreciate them because I would just run through them. And it's like, man, you spent money on these and now they're destroyed.
Right.
You know?
Like, I don't know.
I
I don't like fake stuff. And I feel like so much of America's economy is propped up on like, oh, it's Wall Street and the NASDAQ, which I don't understand a lot of. I will admit. So somebody please feel free to call me out.
I don't either.
But I feel like it's fake. It's not it's not. We don't have like a hardline industry. Like, oh well, we're making microchips. Like, you need the chip, so you have to give us money for the chip. It's like, no, we're just managing other people's money, and that's why we have a lot of money. It's fugazi. It's a very recent invention in human society. It's a very recent occupation when you think about it. Now, you can look at something like my job, and I also fall into that category. Now, I happen to, I try to create items, and like, it's a consumer good, so I guess I am selling something, like an actual hard item. But in the event of like the end of days or whatever, we all have to like kind of go back to a simpler society. Like, no one needs a brand manager.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
But there are certain artists. I think artists are always going to be important. I think for the human psyche, for human consciousness, you need art.
Yeah.
The greatest times throughout history, the Renaissance, the inventions of Greek democracy, the height of the Roman Empire, the dynasties of China and Japan, always coalesced with like great artists and philosophers.
Yeah.
So I think you need that to a degree. But there's so much just fugazi ways of making money nowadays, and we're hurting because of it, because we don't have like who are our great thinkers? Who are, like, I'm sorry to say, and people might be pissed off. Elon Musk is like the guy that comes to mind when I'm like, all right, he's doing space and he's trying to put a colony on Mars and he's making electric cars and he's doing this and he's doing that. You might hate everything he does and you might think they're all failures, but like, who else is doing that?
Yeah, currently.
Mark Cuban hates Elon Musk. What did you do? You bought a basketball team and you're on Shark Tank? Like, what's your great contribution? Yeah. Like, if I had that amount of money, I would at least do like what Rockefeller and Carnegie, these were not good guys overall. Like, they had to enact so many laws because they were treating their workers like shit. But they would take their vast amount of wealth and they would build libraries and they would build opera houses and facilities for people. Who does? No. Oh, well, he donated it to charity. It's some fake charity that the money gets lost and people end up getting $2. Elon Musk, go and build like a library. Jeff Bezos, go build a thing. This is the Jeff Bezos Institute for Higher Learning. And it's for whatever. Inner city kids or people who don't have opportunity to get, top level education, and we bring them in for free and we get the best teachers in the world and we teach them something.
But you know what stinks though is like LeBron built a school for like he built that I forgot what the name of the school was.
Didn't Kanye do it too?
People have built schools, and a lot of people who I know who lean more Republican are like, well, they're doing that for the taxes to get their money back. Like, and it's like, you can't just like see like the good that they're doing. Like, I don't know. I think people just always have an answer for everything when people are trying to do good. Like, I know he passed away years ago. Steve Jobs was really like, when you asked who's the real like thinkers of now, what you said, Elon, in the last 15, 20 years, I think Steve Jobs was up there because look, he changed the game. Elon is trying to change the game. I don't know much about Elon to have an opinion on him.
He's gotten obviously very political in recent years.
I think he made a push the last few months, especially on Twitter. Like, I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing all ads for Trump.
Well, there's a spark that happened when I think people who are usually either keep their political stance private or they just stay out of it, and then they see something that truly upsets them. And I think he saw what happened with Twitter during the last two elections, and I think it just set him off. I think
Yeah.
he was just like, no, like this is
This is
you
not-
know, all, you know, the what's his name, the Hunter Biden stuff.
Yes,
and all that.
yeah.
And I think he was just, and listen, all those guys have come out. Zuckerberg came out and was like, oh yeah, I received like letters from the FBI telling me to like quash stuff. He came out to Congress and said this. But again, you know, nobody's perfect, and if you don't like his politics, that's totally fine. I'm not a fan of everything he has to say, but there used to be a lot of people like that. You know, the time of Edison was the time of Tesla. You know, the time of Carnegie was the time of, you know, Vanderbilt and Rockefeller and these guys. Great, and they did a lot of bad. Like I said, their record on human rights wasn't great, but they were pushing the envelope and trying to create stuff or make it easier for people to get stuff. I think if a lot of them saw how the country is now, especially financially, they'd be like, what the hell happened? Why is it $30 for a case of water in the US? Like this is crazy because people are there's just fake money everywhere. And that the first thing I would do if I was president is I'm like, I don't care what trouble we get into. We are stopping printing money for 1 year today. Do not print another dollar. We will make it work with whatever amount of dollars is out there. Because that's the problem. That's how you get inflation is you just keep printing money so the value of money is less.
Yeah.
And that's why Nixon took us off the gold standard. Well, I actually heard a whole story about that. But anyway, I don't want to get too far into it. Anyway, we need more good thinkers. We need more people to create something and not just put a code into AI. It's like, oh, well, now it made a way that you can track traffic better. Go build a better battery. Go build a better car. Go, design, like, urban planning. Like, oh, here's a way that we can inexpensively put a lot of people into nice places and we have greenery. And so like, do that. I don't give a shit. Like, oh, look at I see it on Instagram all the time. This is what every country would look like if they were like a warrior. And it's just like, oh, this is what the US would look like. And this is England. And this is China. That's what you're using AI for?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I think it needs to be used to just progress us and get us in a better spot.
Yeah.
I think it's like we're using it for like really dumb things, in my opinion. And please, in the comments, educate me if there are things that they're using it for that I haven't seen.
I was probably wrong on like 90% of this today.
No, yeah. I mean,
I did want to make a retract from a several weeks ago episode that somebody reached out to me on Instagram. When we were talking about how the food industry does with the wine.
Yeah.
How they like mark it up and that's why they put wine glasses. I had a guy reach out to me who said, hey, I'm a fan of the show. But I saw what you said about the wine. It's like, and I know the influencer, like the guy on YouTube that who talks about that and makes that point. He's like, that guy is like actually full of shit and he's like causing a lot of problems in the restaurant industry.
Oh shit!
And that's not what we do. He's like, in fact, we mark up other things like more like wine is not. We do not make a ton on wine. This guy is like spreading like a false narrative
bullshit.
That like is real. He's just like against the restaurant industry. So I will retract that about how they incessantly mark up wine. So I hope whoever messaged me, I'm sorry I can't remember your name,
watching,
but
yeah.
I hope you're watching and we're cool. I'm sure somebody's going to say something on this episode, but I when it comes down to it, corporate greed bothers me. That's it. I don't like massive corporate greed. I think
and people
you can
probably
make enough money to pay your employees well, pay yourself well. I also don't like companies going public. I think companies going public is the problem because then like shareholders want to see a 7% increase every year. Whereas if I just own a company and we make $1 million 1 year and the next year we make, $1,050,000, I'm like, okay, like that's fine. Yeah. I'm fine. I don't need more money. Like I think after $500,000 a year, you probably really don't need much more money. Like anywhere in the world, at $500,000 a year, how much more do you really need? There's nothing you're ever going to want for. Ever.
Yeah. No, I mean, and people kind of could look at us here and that we are like we're a bit like we're the Walmart of the cigar world versus, the mom and pop shops. But I think like in our situation and the more I've just been here, I realize like we you look at prices, and I'll use my father-in-law as an example. Like, I'll tell him some prices of stuff. He's like, wow, I go to shops and stuff like that, and like the cigar that I really like is more expensive at that shop than your website, right? Like, we're very like, because you hear a lot of people say like, oh, we're the big bad wolf, and I don't think that. Maybe I'm being a homer here, but I don't look at us as that. I feel like if you work at Amazon, right? I feel like you have to know, like,
you have to know how many stores you put out of business.
Exactly. You were working at a job that has just taken over the world. Yeah. Like has taken.
I don't know how
other
many
businesses have gone under because of Amazon, and is Uber Eats a part of Amazon? Like, or is there
maybe Grubhub or
Grubhub, like everything? They're tackling everything, and it's just,
I don't know of a single mom and pop shop that ever closed because of JR.
Yeah,
because you know why? There's still so many mom and pop shops that were able to do it, that are still successful, able to do it correctly.
Yeah.
So like,
and people prefer that.
Yeah. Does it suck for a mom and pop shop that we can sell it cheaper? Yeah, but like in this industry is unique in that I think people would still prefer, even if it's $1 more a cigar, they would prefer to go into your shop and walk around than buying
just
from
buy
us.
Online. Yeah.
You know, I think we get a lot of people who don't have a good brick and mortar buy them, but dude, I see brick and mortar stores all the time that are like packed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still prefer to. I like instant. I like going into a store and buying a thing.
You've said that for years.
There's
no other experience like it.
Yeah, I do not. Especially like clothes. I hate buying clothes online.
The convenience of buying things online is obviously there is a convenience, but like you said, clothes. I don't know how people buy shoes online without trying them. I get like maybe if you're buying that, okay. But there's certain things that you
I
really
owned a
want
couple
to
other
go
pairs,
in.
so I knew that like my size.
So you knew right away. Yeah, you knew the. Yeah.
I'll only buy online if I had bought one of these before and I knew that it fit.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm not gonna like try a new shirt.
Nope.
Online.
Jeans. No, none of that. So this was a fun episode.
This
actually.
was. Yeah, we got especially during election week. We'll see how they're. Tell us from the future what the results were.
Yes.
And let us know. But thank you all for listening. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And of course, as always, keep it lit.